When buying a property in Texas, you want to make sure that it doesn't come along with title issues. In this video, I'm going to talk about 4 common issues that we see in our office. Hi, my name is Rochelle with WG Title here in McKinney, Texas. First, we want to go into what exactly is a title search. So when we get a title order or a prelim order for a property that it might be being listed on the market, our examiners are going to search first for the vested owners. They're going to look to see who exactly are the vested owners of the property, how far back they need to go, things like that. And was it transferred from each prior owner to the next properly. Next, they're going to go into the specific vested owner. Now they're going to look into them directly, not necessarily for the property specifically, but the seller, because they could, and this is going to go into my first main thing that I see all the time, are judgments. And judgments can be on the property because it could be whether it was a mechanic's lien done on the property or specifically, like I mentioned, the actual seller. They could have a judgment on themselves, and it could be for a previous credit card they didn't pay off that went into collections, things like that. Or it could be from a different property that they were filed a judgment onto themselves. As long as it's in the county that the property is in, then you will see it on title. The examiners will pull it and they'll put it on there for us to see. But if it was a judgment in a different county for the individual, not the property, then it won't show up. It does need to be in the county that the property is in. The second most common thing we find on title is when previous owners had a lien, whether it was a payoff, just a simple payoff, or maybe an HOA lien, and they get it paid off in the previous closing, but the company that they paid off does not file a release of lien. So we see this all the time, especially if title hasn't been searched in at least 10-15 years, because at that point, companies were not actually filing the releases themselves. They were giving them to the clients to file, and I mean, how many times does the client know that they're going to need to file their own release when they get the document? It's pretty common. So that's another huge issue that we see. How to clear it is really just sometimes we can go back and ask the title company for the owner's title policy, and our underwriters will accept just the owner's policy if they do have one. A lot of the times, either the title company could be closed if it was that long ago, or the owner doesn't have a copy of it anymore because it's been so long, or they just didn't keep record of it. So at that point, then we do have to reach out typically to that company and ask for another release to be made, which depending on the company can take anywhere between 48 hours, a couple days to a few weeks. So it just depends on the company. And another common thing we see is, unfortunately, divorces happen and the property is in the middle of the divorce sometimes. For example, one thing I see common in the office as well is if you have a current owner, they get married, then their spouse decides they want to move into the property with them, then it becomes homestead property for both partners. At that moment, then it becomes community property. So when the examiners review that, they're going to say that now the married partner is a vested owner in the property. With that being said, let's say they get the divorce because things happen, and she or he assumes they don't need to be in the property anymore, that's not their house. So they move on and they move out and divorce is completed. A lot of people don't realize that they are still a vested owner in that property because it was once their homestead and they lived there. So this is what we see a lot on title. And so when that happens, typically all that's required at that point, and sometimes this is where the hard part comes in, is trying to get the spouse back or the ex-spouse to sign a deed to get them off title. Another thing that can happen, and isn't quite as common, but does require a lot of knowledge and experience in this area, is when there is a deceased owner on title. So, if a husband and wife have a property, husband passes away, it's been 10 years and they haven't dealt with it because they didn't think they needed to. We come across that quite often, but it's not as easy as it seems as just getting him off title. There's a whole potential probate process that needs to happen and maybe an attorney to get involved. So what happens when we find these issues in title? We really, once we get the order from the examiner back, we review everything. It doesn't take, depending on the issue, it can take us as simple as a day or two. Sometimes it could take a few weeks. It just depends on the extensity of the issue that's coming up on title. And it's important to remember that clearing these issues is needed to insure a property when we are issuing title insurance for a buyer. Of course, I could go into a lot further depth into these issues, but that would be a much longer video. So if you do ever have questions or come across any of these issues, or just anything that you come across when it comes to examining property in Texas, leave a comment below or give us a call and I'd be happy to go over in detail with you. If you find this information helpful, subscribe to our YouTube channel and we'll see you in the next video.